Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of The Mag Show. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Daniel Richardson, and, of course, the very own Gary in the Discord server. So welcome to everyone who's tuning in, and if you're not right now, welcome on YouTube if you're watching the playback.
Hello, everybody. It's great to see you back again. And we are still standing by our commitment to try and do one mag show a month. This one was a little bit rushed, as all mag shows are, but that's just how we roll in Mansonair Group. As Dave said, I would very much like to welcome our very own Gaza to the stream as a special guest. You may have seen him sort of in the background of previous streams, but today is the first day Gaza will be introducing something really cool and exciting to everybody. So we're really excited for that. So what we're going to do, with everybody's permission, if everyone's happy with that, we'll go through a couple of updates for Mansonair. So a couple of new route additions and a couple of repaints. Then we'll do a couple of little news segments, and then we'll finish off with the big main event. How does that sound?
Works for me.
Sound good?
Sound good.
Works for everyone? Perfect. Alrighty. So, my ATPL Mansonair experts. Let me open what I need to open. Great. So, if I share my screen and screen, that one. Perfect. So can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
There should be a gorgeous Mansonair 787-10.
Beautiful.
So, as I'm sure many of you are aware, I am incredibly unhappy with the way our Mansonair 787-10 looks in MSFS. The reason for this is it was actually one of the very first liveries, could be one of the very first that was ever actually created for the sim. I would say it's probably within the top 100, along with our Caravan and our Cessna 172. But things have progressed, and as much as the livery was fine back then, over time, it's just sort of bothered me more and more and more. And so I have since cracked Blender painting, and here you have essentially a test run of a complete redo of the Mansonair 787-10 in MSFS. So as you can see, it's not perfect. The landing gear door needs to be painted. The wing box section, unfortunately, is actually mirrored in the paint kit. So whatever I put here will show up on the other side and vice versa. So it looks really messy. So I'll probably have to play with the font size. You can see the engines are the original engines, and the tail does need some work. Obviously, the forward facing, the leading edge of the tail, I do need to remove the paint from the metallic surface and sort of paint the top. But otherwise, I'm fairly happy with how it looks and how it's progressing. So that is still a work in progress. There's another one again. Just need to paint the nose wheel, but still very much a work in progress. This is probably version 4 or 5, and I think it looks a lot better than the current one that we have on offer. A little bit more professional, especially with the straight edge. That's the biggest thing for me.
Well done, Dan. That looks very good. Like I say, it's still a work in progress, but the line alone makes it, and the blend, that's like a lot better than what it was, and I prefer to fly that in its current state than what we have. Yeah,
well, if you remember the one that we have, the line sort of finishes halfway up the nose,
right?
Which is not our brand,
our lifestyle brand.
But again, our lifestyle brand. But at the time, it was the best that we could get. So yeah, expect to see that very soon. Once I've perfected it, because it will not come out until I am happy with it.
Interestingly,
so it might be some time.
if you compare it to like the P3D, what was it called? The 787 from
Quality Wings.
Quality Wings, that's the one. The blue on that one on the belly was seemingly a lot darker than the blue on this one. I think it was probably a fault with that one.
Yeah, so basically on this one is the blue is actually slightly darker than the rest of the fleet. That's because of the masking that I'm doing onto the original white paint kit. So essentially, I make it into what's called a multiply layer, which sort of makes everything transparent so you can see through it. That's how I was doing it in P3D. So I didn't have to download the full paint kit because at that time I wasn't aware of how to do the paint kit. So Dave at least will know. For the original repaints in P3D, what I was doing is sort of lining everything up, putting the two textures side by side, lining everything up, cutting where it needed to be cut. And then I was just sort of doing a multiply mask over the top. So it would allow the details to shine through, but also put the Mansonair branding on it. And as a result, the colors were slightly darker than they perhaps should have been. And I actually had to cut out each window individually in the PMDG paint kit. Because if you didn't do that, it would paint over the windows.
Right.
So yeah, that's how I was doing it. But now that I've sort of worked out how to do the blender, it looks a lot better. And obviously with the PMDG paint kit, you can do it in Photoshop because it's a basic flat texture. But that's a little bit of a preview. But yeah, something like the tail. I'm sure you'll all notice on the 737 the Invictus logo on the tail. There's some slight misalignment at the root of the tail to the side of the fuselage. This is due entirely to the fact that it was all basically eyeballed from the beginning. I will probably look to redo it at some point in the future, but to be honest, unless you're really looking for it, you can't really see it on the PMDG stuff. But expect me to use the blender painting technique when the PMDG 777 is released, which I believe could be imminent. We just haven't heard any of that yet. But yeah, so that's one quick update with the 787. Next up, as I'm sure you all remember, we announced our YAM project at the last MAG show. And I'm very pleased to announce that the routes are now in the system. You can book a YAM flight. The two liveries, I will be sending Dave the file as soon as the stream ends, and you will be able to fly a YAM flight from now. This was a picture that I took departing Calicut, an airport that I have in real life frequented, I think 21 times. So it's nice to see it so well represented in the simulator. So it just looks really good, to be honest. I love the Phoenix model, and as I say, the reason that I managed to crack the blender painting technique was because of this tail and a Phoenix Sim video. So this livery has a very, very special place in my heart, if you like. But yeah, so that's the YAM project. You can book it now.
Looks gorgeous.
Thank you. And as I said, I will be sending the files over to Dave in however long it takes for us to end the stream. And then they will be on their way to all of you guys to plow the Middle Eastern skies.
I feel like out of all of our liveries so far, this one seems the most realistic, really. It's Euro white, but it's kind of for if it were, let's say, a Middle Eastern low cost outfit, I can see it in real life. you know?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of a mix of Flynas and Salam Air.
Exactly.
With the green and the everything sort of coming onto the coming onto the fuselage. So the livery rolling down onto the fuselage. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how the livery has turned out. As of right now, the if this works, there we go. So if you go to the Manson Air website, you click on schedule or even route map. Let me search for Oscar Mike Delta Bravo, find. So now you'll be able to see from Dubai, we have a bunch of new routes. So a lot of these routes previously, so Ivatu, Nosy Be, Nairobi, Dakar, and all of the Europe and China were there before. But now you'll be able to see Bahrain, Doha, Riyadh, Jeddah, Salalah, Muscat, Mumbai, and Calicut added for your enjoyment. As of right now, we're just going to start with 2 airplanes, and then gradually we'll start building up the UAE base to include Sharjah and Abu Dhabi bases as well. So that should give even more variety to those of you wishing to fly in that region. So that's about it for the Manston Air updates. Moving on to a few very quick news stories. I'm trying to keep it short because I want to give Gaza as much time as possible because it's really exciting what he's going to show you. But first things first, I'm going to mention X-Plane 12. I know we don't really have any users of it, but they're still trying, right? So X-Plane 12.1 is coming with better graphics, better systems, and weather. As I'm sure everybody knows, X-Plane was always the simulator for that always had the best flight dynamics. I believe what they were using was, if I'm not mistaken, Dave, it was Blade Element theory, or was it MSFS is using Blade Element, and then X-Plane was just sort of generating an atmosphere.
Yeah, well, at the very least, it was not lookup tables.
No, exactly. So they've added some particle effects. So if you want to land without a landing gear, you can, and it'll show some sparks. If that is what tickles your pickle, and sort of some dust effects. But to be honest, I can see those things already in MSFS. At this point, bless them. I just feel like Laminar are, how can I say this? Trying to catch up. They know that they're never going to have the market share that they used to have with X-Plane 11 when there was no other option, and they're just sort of playing catch up.
I mean, there are still some outlier use cases I can see for X-Plane. Like,
absolutely,
I've seen, like the other day, I was looking at the best sort of Gulfstream you can get and fly is in X-Plane.
Yeah.
Gulfstream and other business jet manufacturers have historically been very anti-simulator model developers. They tend to sue them and stop them from making anything. But there is one that's seemingly quite good in X-Plane. X-Plane historically was very good for the GA community because of its flight dynamics, whereas the systems in P3D were usually better. But I would still say, I think the X-Plane Embraer is slightly better than the Microsoft Flight Simulator one, despite it not having a steep approach mode.
That would be the I was about to say Flight Factor. They're not Flight Factor.
No.
Because the model that you see in MSFS is made by the same guys that made the Embraer for X-Plane.
Right.
Which is why it looks so good.
Yes.
It's just the Flight Sim Studio are a brand new developer, and they don't have the resources to put behind the the Embraer project in MSFS that the other developer has. It's really bugging me, actually. Can you remember what they were called?
I can quickly look it up.
Yeah, if you could. But yeah, so that's an update to X-Plane 12. If anyone has X-Plane 12, then I'm sure
X-Crafts?
you'll... X-Crafts, that's
Yeah,
the one,
yeah.
because they made an Embraer 145 as well, if I remember
They
correctly.
did, which is not so good either. But the one E-Jet was quite good actually, quite nice.
I'd love a 145 in MSFS.
I would too.
I think that'd be
It'd
great.
be great for Africa.
It'd be incredible for Africa.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I say, there's an update for X-Plane 12 if you are an X-Plane user, which I think 99.5% of our users are not. Then this might be relevant for you, but I couldn't just ignore it. It is part of the wider simming community, and as Davis quite rightly said, X-Plane still does have its rightful place within the simming community.
Yeah, and even if you take the 737 for example, and you could say that the PMDG 737 NG3 is the best rendition of a 737 in a home simulator ever, but if you're looking for a freeware 737, my goodness me, the what do they call it? 737 in X-Plane is something else.
Zibo.
The Zibo mod.
Yeah.
That is really good. If you're just looking for a value proposition, probably one of the best freeware airliners ever made.
Yeah. But what they did is essentially what Fly-by-Wire did with the A320 in MSFS,
Right.
which is take the already very good-looking X-Plane model and just played with the systems until it was really realistic. So yeah, the Zibo mod is fantastic, and I believe we still have some repaints up for the Zibo mod.
Yeah, that's.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, so we are still supporting it, even if it's not quite as much as.
Yeah, which is why we're talking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So that's enough X-Plane. Let's talk about Flight Simulator, Microsoft Flight Simulator. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things to talk about. I will sort of skim through a lot of them because most of them are just sort of small updates to already existing products. But the first things first is Aberdeen. Now, this is one that I was really looking forward to for quite some time. It's one of these airports that was just missing from MSFS, whereas we had it in P3D. And if I remember correctly, we have 2 or 3 flights a day up to Aberdeen, and some of our ATR cargo routes actually go through Aberdeen for the oil contracts. Aberdeen and Inverness.
Aberdeen.
Yes.
Call it.
So yeah.
I was based there for a short time.
This was at your first airline.
Yeah, BMI Regional. When you basically everyone who did their line training there, like their first initial line training, they'd be based at Aberdeen because most of the senior training captains were there. So so you basically had to. It was like they call it a ritual of fire, baptism.
Baptism of fire.
Because the weather can get quite nice there. It's usually a blowing a hoolie. Yeah, and it's mountainous terrain around, which doesn't help with the weather dynamics.
Yeah.
And in the winter, obviously, it gets very cold. So, yeah.
So that's going to be a really there's a little 145 there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that should be a nice little interesting airport to fly into. I personally will be heading up to Aberdeen. It's only £11.50 as
good,
well.
Good value.
Which is fantastic value. Actually this is coming from Builds. It's made by Aura Scenery.
Yeah.
But it's shipped by Builds. I've actually been really impressed with Builds
pricing.
They release these massive sceneries for not a lot of money, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to be doing a lot of GA stuff around the North Sea, which hint hint you might be, I mean, for £11.50, the value proposition of this is just astounding.
You know what? I think it's got a lot to do with the competition in Microsoft Flight Simulator versus what we had in P3D. Because when you go on AnyBuild's website, I think if you look at their add-on, did they do an Abu Dhabi for P3D?
No.
Okay, they did something in P3D that they also did in MSFS, and the price for the P3D add-on is still more expensive today than the MSFS equivalent.
Is it?
Yeah,
Let's
I can't
have a
remember what
look.
it was, but
Let's have a look.
yeah, might be Stansted or I really don't know.
Could be Stansted.
Stansted, I think. Yeah.
Let's have a look. Let's go Europe. Boundless Southend, Boundless Stansted.
That's 15 quid in X-Plane.
It's 15 quid in X-Plane. Boundless. Why does Boundless ring a bell?
Something to do
Why is
with
Boundless
Matt.
ringing a bell? I think Matt might have done. No, Matt did Donkey for X-Plane, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So yeah, no, I mean, Chios, £7. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
AnyBuild's Ibiza, £10. That's nothing.
EGSS.
That's absolutely nothing.
AnyBuilds.
They've got Kerry. They've got Kerry for a tenner. Heathrow for 18 quid. I mean, the amount of, anyone who's used an AnyBuild scenery product will know that AnyBuilds holds their developers to an incredibly high standard,
Yeah, so Stansted is 40p cheaper in MSFS than X-Plane, but still
40p is 40p.
40p is 40p. But I mean, what I'm saying is that I feel like the market in MSFS is more competitive because there's a lot of freeware, good freeware as well for a lot of these airports.
Yeah. I've just found, so Gatters, Origami Studios, Gatters for X-Plane, 20 quid.
Yeah.
Origami Studios, Gatters for
MSFS,
$11.99.
Yeah. So £8 difference.
Origami Studios, Heathrow, $21.99 in X-Plane or $17.99 in MSFS.
Yeah.
So I think you're absolutely right that the market is so
competitive or
saturated,
aggressive. Yeah.
competitive, aggressive, that unless you are the only person making a scenery for that specific airport, I mean, you've got to price yourself aggressively.
Yeah, and you see the same actually on Orbex. Like, as much as Orbex themselves, their main sceneries are still quite pricey, but they are also have become a let's say a distributor of other people's sceneries as well.
Yeah.
And I think they've had to pivot these big stores to remain what the big names like Orbex, what was I thinking of? Fly Tampa. These still will command a certain amount of a premium just because of the brand name behind it, and also their sceneries do tend to be. They've got a lot of experience in the game. Their sceneries do tend to be of a good quality and standard.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree. And you have people in the freeware market, such as Vortex, who are producing incredibly high quality free add-ons.
Exquisite.
I mean, you look at our Manston, what was it? Bosaso. All of these little airfields that have been what was not Southend, Clacton, I think. Clacton. All of these scenes, they're so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And that's free.
Yeah.
You know? So these guys that are looking, because I remember back in the day when Aerosoft would charge 30 or 40 quid for Heathrow.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Aerosoft
know,
was some of the
and
worst.
yeah, and they weren't even that good. I mean, you would load it up and
Yeah,
and you would
be a
get like
stuttery mess.
4 FPS.
Yeah,
Yeah, a stuttering mess because it's unoptimized. You
yeah,
know, but now you can't get away with charging that.
no. And I think
So it's
I think some of it is also this. I hate to say it. I hate to give credit to it, but I think some of it is the Xbox. Um,
yeah,
because this marketplace that's available on the Xbox. Okay, you can't buy an add-on perhaps from Orbex or any builds and then install it on your Xbox. I don't know, but they've got the Microsoft Marketplace there, and obviously all these developers are on there too.
yeah,
And it's a hard sell on the Xbox to sell the base, let's call it a game simulator, for whatever 50, 60 quid,
yeah,
and then ask for an additional £40 just for one airport. That's
yeah,
just not a proposition that's going to work. But when you're talking about 11, £12 for a full size payware airport, yeah, I can get my arms around that.
yeah. And I think, you know what? I think you're absolutely right. I just saw party bits. That's interesting. I think you're absolutely right because the gamers will not pay that money. The serious simmers will pay that money.
Yeah.
But we are now benefiting, as much as that hurts me to say,
Yeah.
as I would consider myself a fairly serious simmer. You know, we are benefiting from the gamers.
Yes.
So yeah, no, that's it's really good for everyone, really. I can't really say anything more than that. Sorry, I got distracted by Pardubits. There was a Red Wings Tu-204 that took off from here and then crashed in Moscow.
Oh gosh.
Sorry, I got distracted. Yeah, but anyway, moving swiftly on from that cheery discussion. The next one is, I know a few of our members have this airplane, the Azure Poly C160 Trans All, right? I've tried it. It's a nice little airplane, but for me, it is not worth £33 because I don't use it enough. But for those who do have it, they have updated a few things. So here, the condition levers, trim ranges, wipers, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, Azure Poly has updated the C160 Trans. If you have it, amazing. Some of the sceneries that Vortex has been, cranking out, would really flying a Transall in there would be like as it should be, you know. So yeah, that's been updated. If you have it, great. If you don't have it, try it. Why not? You might like it. Pootle around Africa on behalf of Verona. Why not? Represent MAG. I'm going to skip this next one because I don't really know enough about it to talk too much about it. But this one.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. This one.
So
What can I say about
having
this?
flown the real thing, does it look pretty accurate?
It looks pretty fucking accurate.
Nice.
It looks so good. So good. I don't know how the hell Fly-by-Wire are going to release this as freeware. But my God, just look at it. Look at it. It's so beautiful. The only thing that I have to say is, I think this was taken at Kingsford Smith, Sydney. Okay, so yeah, maybe. Okay, this is probably Sydney. But just look at it. Oh, it's so beautiful. Yeah. As far as I can see, it is pretty close to the real thing. The only difference in the ones that I'm flying are the seat covers. We're spoiled with sheepskin,
Of
or
course.
sheep's wool or whatever. Of course, one has to keep oneself warm on the long flights.
Habibi.
Of course, Habibi. But yeah, I'm so excited for this 380. I can't say much, but I on the Fly by Wire Discord I am on as an A380 type rated pilot. So I believe that they're gonna, as far as they've said, they're gonna start slowly dripping this add-on out to the guys who fly it for real first, to beta test the bugs and see how it really behaves. And I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on this. The 380 is an incredible machine. It doesn't feel that big when you're in the cockpit. I'll be very honest with you. But that could just be because we're operating in airports with such huge, wide taxiways, and when you have 380s all lined up, it doesn't seem that big, right? But trust me, this thing is fucking huge, and I'm really hoping that Fly by Wire can nail this, because Any Builds are also coming out with because Any Builds are also coming out with an A380, but that has been delayed until the A350 comes out, and the 350. There is a potential that I could also go and fly that. So that would be really interesting to see how the simulator compares. But it's just this one picture of the 380, unfortunately. But it just looks so good.
With the
like
the charts you see there, the ones in green, is that taxiways that they can use? Do you know? Or?
Yes. So the 380 for our charts, we are only allowed to go on certain taxiways. I'm sure in the 747 you had some taxiways that were restricted as well.
Some, but it was Air Atlanta, so we just did what we wanted basically anyway. But yeah.
Yeah. But in the company that I work for,
yes,
you can't.
Yes.
So yeah, so all of the airports that we regularly operate to, or would be considered as an alternate airport, have had an assessment made on them, and essentially we have green, amber, and red taxiways, and we also have grey taxiways, which are the default. Green means you can operate there without restriction. Yellow means you can operate there with some restriction, which could be that the inner engines have to remain at idle, or the outer engines have to remain at idle. Red means if you go here, you will lose your job.
Is it as strict as
gray, that? Yeah, that's a violation.
Oh, right.
It's a violation.
All right.
Unless it's like complex and it's an easy mistake to make. But if you like deliberately go down a red taxiway, big problem. And there is a feature where you can add crosses and stuff into the OANS, it's called, onboard airport navigation system. So you can actually put crosses on the place you can't go and whatever. It is very heavily restricted. And sorry, I was talking about the grey taxiways. The grey taxiways are basically, we have not made an assessment, go down at your own risk.
Yes.
So yeah.
So the green ones there have been assessed, and they assume that it's good for use.
Use completely without limitation. So some taxiways we are required to use. If you see this button here, it's a taxi camera. So we have one on the fin and one just behind the nose wheel. Some of them you must, obviously when you taxi an airplane, you look outside. But some taxiways are restricted to the point where using that system is mandatory. Like it's part of the SOP that we turn it on. But sometimes you could have an airplane which may have a snag on the day, which renders those one of those or both of those cameras inoperable. In which case you basically have to be very, very, very careful. And if there is a taxiway that says you must not go down here without the cameras on, then don't fucking go down there. Just don't do that to yourself, because it's I think, if I remember correctly, it's like 85 meters wide. So it's huge.
Yeah.
If the wheelbase is 15 meters across.
Yeah.
So if your taxiway is 15 meters, you're threading the needle.
Yeah.
Seriously threading the needle. So it's a lot of airplane. The picture looks absolutely fucking stunning, and I can't wait to get my hands on this. And once I do get my hands on this, after general release, of course, I will be very interested in doing streaming with some sort of real world 380 operations, but of course only after it is officially released. If I have the opportunity at all to try it out before, but yeah, 380 looks amazing. Super fucking excited for that. Like super excited. The next thing we discussed in the last mag show, the Bluebird 757.
Yes.
This is an airplane that we are definitely bringing to the Verona fleet, especially. And look, it's just so pretty. It's just such a good-looking airplane and an absolute performance monster. I mean, they need to work on the texturing, of course. But yeah, it looks like it's coming along nicely. These are external previews. There's still no release date. I don't expect there to be a release date for quite some time. But yeah, quick update to the 757. As always, you can check the full notes on the FS Elite website. I'm going to close that one. This one. So I believe we fly to Bilbao. In fact, I'm certain that we fly to Bilbao, at least from Alicante and from Manston. So this has been released, by Anybuilds for just £11, right?
Wow.
And this is by Beautiful Model of the World, and they've been in the MSFS scenery game for quite some time, but they've just partnered up with Anybuilds to distribute their products, and actually their offering has improved significantly since they first started producing scenery for MSFS. So I will definitely be acquiring this scenery. It's just stunning. I mean, just look at that. They've gone to the trouble of modeling the adverts on the billboards in the luggage carousel. I mean, that's insane. So I personally will be buying this. I think it looks incredible. And again, we do operate here, both from Alicante and from Manston. So that is, it's a really good looking airport.
Does look good.
It's really good looking. It does. And as I say, BMW have come so far in their offering since they first popped onto the scene in MSFS. So yeah, anyone who wants to pick up Bilbao, it's available again on the Anybuilds manager for just £11. Lastly, or second to last, before we get to the main event, RD Presets has released Salzburg for MSFS. This is for €20, so that's around 16 pounds. Again, Salzburg is a place that we fly to with Manston Air, and they have this Red Bull museum off to the one side of the airport, and is an absolutely stunning place to fly into. Really challenging with high terrain all around the airport.
I used to fly in there quite a lot with BAC.
Yeah,
So it's a really good airport, and
yeah,
like you say, really challenging. The high terrain. Sometimes the weather can pick up the wind, and also the visibility can drop quite a lot as well.
yeah. Well, as any mountainous area
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
So yeah, Salzburg is available. Again, that's through SimMarket or Contrail. I'm kind of disappointed with SimMarket right now. I bought a scenery from them recently, and I was only able to install that scenery if I downloaded SimMarket's own install hub. So yeah, I'm kind of a bit annoyed about that. So personally, I would go through Contrail just to show SimMarket that we don't need another launcher and just let us do it the way that we used to do it, which is download it, put the key in, and you're good to go. So yeah, but Salzburg is out. Anyone who wants to try it, I believe there is another scenery for MSFS. I can't remember what the name is, but yeah, Salzburg is coming or is here. So if you want it, go get it. Lastly, I'm still talking too much. Lastly, there was Asobo have released something called World Hub. Now, I'm not sure what World Hub is. As far as I am aware, it's essentially a bunch of updated airports for the flight sim. So it would make taxiways look, or put taxiways in their correct places, put jetways and parking stands in their correct places. So that's really cool. Apparently, it's not yet accessible. I guess that you have to be in the beta. I've not really read it properly, but yeah, that is again another really good sign that Asobo are in fact dedicated to updating or keeping MSFS going even after the release of 2024.
Yeah.
Which should be imminent. But if I remember when they released it, they promised, what was it, 10 years of support for this simulator?
They did, yeah.
So the World Hub is
Part of that.
Part of that, and I believe it will play an integral role in keeping MSFS young, because as P3D got older, I mean the P3D default airports were not particularly good to begin with, but as it got older and older and older, that age started to show, and you really needed add-on airports, and a vast majority of good quality airports were quite expensive in P3D. I believe X-Plane had some high quality scenery. I mean, Vortex was formerly in X-Plane. Yeah. I think World Hub is a really good sign, a really good step in the right direction, and another promising sign that Asobo are going to stick to their promise, because a lot of the game developers don't.
It's
and
true.
I'm going to call them a game developer because they are a game developer. But you know, it's like a lot of these companies release a game that's sort of in early access, and then they sort of disappear after a while. Actually, a lot of add-on creators in MSFS release a product. Yeah, well, so far they are keeping to their promise.
We shall see.
But a lot of people were quite dubious about it because of them sort of essentially the Embraer is in alpha.
Yes.
And they're sort of funding their development through early access sales.
And they also started releasing the 190, 195 when they hadn't even finished the 170, 175.
Yeah.
Which pissed a lot of people off.
Yes. Because they were like, "We'll just finish that one, and then you can use a lot of." Because unless I'm mistaken, at least systems-wise, the 170 and 190 were fairly similar.
Pretty much
It
identical.
wasn't like a whole new airplane.
Yeah.
So they could have finished the 170, 175, or in fact, just release them the other way around, because the 190-95 is far more popular than the 70-75.
Right.
Unless they were primarily aiming at the US market, where the 170, where the 170, 175 is very popular because of the airline scope clauses, which is another big part of the reason why the E2 170 and 175 haven't actually sold, because they're too heavy and too big for those to meet those scope clauses.
But that's another discussion. But there you go.
No, you wouldn't. But those engines, they weigh a lot.
Yeah.
So that's it for the news.
I just have one very small thing which I wanted to add, which is not a flight simulator related. But it is relevant to what we do, and that is that NVIDIA are releasing a new driver suite, and it will no longer be the control panel as we know it, and it will no longer be the NVIDIA experience as we know it. There will be an all-in-one interface, and you won't have to log in, which is the number one thing, of course.
Most important thing.
But it will be, I mean, that NVIDIA control panel is something like, it's 2006, I think they said it was. Since they haven't really updated the interface since 2006. So it's going to be a big overhaul and well worth it and well overdue. So looking forward to that. That was just a small thing I wanted to add.
No, thank you for adding. It's a really good point, actually, because a lot of the simmers out there are using NVIDIA cards, because I'm running over cables. Because historically, NVIDIA graphics cards and Intel CPUs have been the most performant in the various flight simulators. I remember I built an AMD FX 8350 rig with a 7970 gigahertz edition. It was an absolute beast, if you can remember that PC, Dave. It was double stacked. I had two PCs in one. And that was like a high-end AMD PC. And a entry to mid level Intel NVIDIA PC was like giving the same performance as the AMD stuff. So historically NVIDIA has been number one for sorry, I just watched The Dictator. Couldn't resist. Has been number one for simmers globally. So thank you very much for mentioning that. The most important thing is that they're no longer asking for your data. Which again is a really nice step in the right direction.
It is.
Because so many companies now, you have to give them your data, give them your phone number, these free Wi-Fi connections that you get in malls and restaurants and stuff that just say, just put your email address in and you get free Wi-Fi.
It's like, no.
What are they doing with that data?
Yeah, indeed.
So, yes. Moving on to the main event and the reason why Gaza is here. So, as I'm sure you all know, Gary has been a very big part of Mansonair Group since he joined, I think about 7 or 8 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. And even winning awards like the 100 flights in 30 days award, which we didn't even know existed until Gary did it. So, the man is both a myth and a legend. And he came to us with an idea. Now, Gary's idea is something that we sort of floated around between sort of the management guys, but never really took the time to really study it and implement it. However, Gaza has changed that. And I'm going to pass you over to Gary now to explain everything, or as much as he'd like, about this new project, which we believe could actually herald quite a large growth for Manson Air Group as a whole. So, Gary, please take it away. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, David. Thanks for inviting me along. I really appreciate that.
Our pleasure.
Always welcome.
I'm not much of a talker like Dan. I mean, compared to Dan the Tornado, I'm just a breeze of wind. So I suppose I'll give you a brief introduction of myself first. My name's Gary or Gaza, or over here, a lot of people just say Kiwi to me. As you probably tell from my accent, I'm from New Zealand, although I've been living in Germany for the last 15 years now. So there's a lot of German in my accent. Actually, I don't admit it much, but I am a Brit. I was born in Hastings in Sussex. But
Close to home.
Yeah. Although I was only about 3 or 4 years old when my parents moved to New Zealand, so I see myself more as a Kiwi than a Brit.
Yeah.
I still have my British passport. So
not very useful in Germany now.
Yeah.
After Brexit.
Yeah, I know. I got a double. I got German and British passport. I did have a New Zealand one too, but if you've been away from New Zealand for more than 8 years, they say, "Oh well, you're not coming back, so we'll take the passport back."
Shit. That sucks.
That sucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, I've been pretty much of a gamer all my life. I never really was into aviation at all. The only time I really had anything to do with it was when I was in the Navy and we jumped out of a helicopter into the Pacific Ocean. It was like kind of the equivalent of the American SEALs, Navy SEALs. I did this course and part of it was jumping out of a helicopter. But other than that, not really. Yeah, 2019, I went back home to New Zealand for a visit and I was able to fly from Dubai to Auckland on the A380. And now this was a big moment for me and sort of woke up a little bit of my aviation feelings, but then that stopped there again until last year in May. And then I found that Steam had a special on MSFS, so I bought it. Had no idea at all about flying, never been in a cockpit, nothing. So actually I installed it and started it up and couldn't really get to terms with anything, and then I didn't play it again for a while. And then I found Manston and I thought that I'd join up, and then you guys accepted me, and it wasn't until about a month later or 5 or 6 weeks later that I actually flew for the first time after Dan showed me how to fly the Caravan. Took me for a co-pilot flight down to Lydd, wasn't it? Down to Lydd?
Yeah, Manston to Lydd.
Yeah, Manston to Lydd. So I thought I'd give it a go myself after that, and that was 10 months ago. And since then, I think I've done almost 600 flights for Manston. I slowly learned more. David said, "Why don't you get into a twin engine? Try that." And he recommended to me the Seneca because that's what he flew. So I gave that a shot, and then I slowly worked up, and actually I was able to fly the Phoenix, the A320. So I did a few flights with that. But I found that my love is with GA. I mean, the bush trips that you can do and just the little short flights, you see everything. When you're in an airliner, all you see is clouds for hours on end.
Yeah.
I like it. I really do like it, but it was a little bit boring. Maybe the short flights are something for me, but these long haul flights, I don't know. It's not really for me. So I came up with an idea because the VA is predominantly airline flying, that maybe we could offer something in the way of bush trips or GA flying. and I came up with the idea of maybe opening an FBO or offering these events in some other way. And I planned out a trip already and introduced this to the guys, and I thought it might be a good idea, and maybe we could include this into the VA. Now, if I could share my screen. Wait a second. There we go. Tours. Go live. So you can see this?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So this is just one that I've thrown together in the last week. It's I've called it the Tundra Tour. It just goes from Norway right over the top of Russia down to Alaska. Now, what I've done is I've kind of made a task or a mission for every leg, and it's all a little bit of, like I said, tongue-in-cheek kind of missions here. You'll see, like, deliver 6 crates of the finest Beluga vodka to Ivan Stroganoff, who is already starting to sober up, and his hangover is starting to kick in. It's all kinds of little tasks. A lot of them are true situations that happened. Here we go. This one, it's got 17 legs, and I've had the idea of 12 different tours to begin with. The one I'm working on now is through New Zealand. It's a bush tour which has 28 legs. This one is a little bit closer to my heart because I know all of these places, and there are some pretty tricky landings in some of them. And what else do we have here? The third one is island hopping through the Greek islands. Then a Greenland tour I've got planned. A tour through the Appalachian Mountains. The Aussie tour around Australia. Oi, oi, oi. A Silk Road tour I've got planned here. One through the Bermuda Triangle. One around the Caspian Sea. One right down the Route 66. Following the Marco Polo Trail, and the last one is a tour I've planned through the Himalayas. So we'll have a set of about 12 different tours to start with. I was also thinking of one because Matt has made so many African airports and contributed them to the to the VA. I thought maybe I could also make a tour including all of Matt's airports or something like that, but that's something in the future. Yeah, so the tour that I'm doing, I've done all the legs myself. So I've also got here the leg, the task or the mission that should be done. I've also included links to the freeware airports which are suitable for the tour from flightsim.to, and also some links to articles or photos or special bits of information about the tour itself. Yeah, what else can I say? If this,
the aircraft that you flew mostly was the TBM, right?
I've been using the TBM for most of them, but it's pretty good for the Tundra tour. But for the New Zealand tour, I think for some of the airports, the Caravan would be more adequate, or the 172. I think we only have in our fleet 10 Caravans and 2 172s. Is that right?
Something like that, yeah. Right, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how you would work that into it.
It can be worked into it.
The FBA itself will acquire the planes, or the VA. I have no idea.
I mean, they're free. We have our connections. We can sort of do some things. But no, as we said when you came to us with this idea, the amount of work and effort and I would say love that you've put into this idea and project is amazing, and we're really, really, really looking forward to being able to implement it for everybody to use. And if I remember correctly, you said that you were going to also upload the tours themselves onto FS2?
FS2?
Flightsim.to.
FSTO.
Oh, possibly. I was thinking about if you weren't going to accept this or include it into the VA, that I would possibly do that, yeah.
You know what, though, Gary? I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't do it. I'm not telling you what to do, but it would be great if these did end up on Flightsim.to in maybe the guise of getting more guys to join the VA. And do their virtual flying, their GA flying through Manston. At least that way we get them on a track, so to speak.
Yeah,
that's a very good point. Yeah, sure. Yep.
But
well,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that another aspect was because I think a lot of people join VAs and they don't fly airliners, and they do like to just fly GA, and we don't really have much of an offer for that. So it's another aspect of my idea.
No, I completely agree with you. I mean, as I'm sure many VAs do, we do have people who join and simply don't fly. But I think having something like the Tundra Tour or the Ghosts of Greenland, that sounds really interesting. It's something. It's a goal, and as you said, coming from a gamer background rather than a simmer's background, having that task, having that mission, having that
achievement,
the purpose, it drives you forward. I think.
It's like
I think.
Go on. Sorry, man.
I think, Gary, you've said in the past that the ability to gain achievements really sort of spurs you on, like a Pokemon. You got like a Pokemon master. You got to catch them all. So I believe we are all, and I'm sure that all of the members as well are of the opinion that this is a truly fantastic idea.
Yeah, it's a narrative as well. Like, one of the things that I found most rewarding in my real life career was knowing that I've either connected families or I've provided relief to, perhaps during COVID time, or the story behind why I've done that flight. And a lot of the time you might end up in a VA or just on flight simulation in general. Where am I going to fly today? What am I going to do? And it's just like you pick from a route. Okay, today I'm just going to base it off the time of departure, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Which, is fine. But what Gary's done here is something quite special in that given every flight a story and some meaning and purpose and a narrative. And that's going to mean a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah, I fully agree. And as I say, we are really so excited to be able to bring this to everyone, with Gary's blessing, of course. So yeah, no, it's a great idea. It's a really, really, really great idea.
Well,
Thank you.
It looks like the Tundra Tour is pretty much ready to go. So I mean, there's no reason that we can't start getting it up on the website and make a tour for it.
You do like getting it up, don't you, Mr. Butler?
I do. It's my favorite thing to do. Hello, Dave.
But no, on behalf of all of us, Gary, not just the management, but I'm sure that the general members, thank you for sort of bringing this to us and sharing it with us.
Your contribution.
Yes, you're going to leave your mark, quite rightly, in more ways than one.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I've been looking for a way I can help and contribute myself for a while, but yeah, I thought it would be a good idea. I don't know how you guys will implement it though, but that's your headache, not mine.
There will be a way. Where there is a will, there is a way. Mr. Butler will show us the way. Don't worry. So part of what we discussed relating to the FBO, as we're calling it for now, was adding some channels and everything to the Discord. So Gary can make the announcements of what's ready, what's on fs.to, any events or whatever that, if people want to all group fly one or 25 legs of a particular tour, they can, and MAG is all about the community, right? So we wanted to have that a place for everyone to go to. If they get tired of airliners, they'll just see Gary in the bush doing his thing, and Dave in the bush doing his thing, and me in the bush doing my thing with some binoculars. Just living our best lives at 80 to 120 knots.
You don't want to see
It's
me
the
in
best
the bush,
way
mate.
to the world. If you see Dave in a bush, turn around and walk away very fast.
Unless you're into that sort of thing.
Unless you're into that sort of thing. But yeah, no. Gary, thank you so much for bringing this to us, and we really look forward to helping you to develop what you need to develop. I mean, as you know, the offer is always there. Anything you need that we can do within reason, we will. Unfortunately, we can't provide you with several billion euros. You'll be in a very long queue. That's all I can say. I need to buy more. I mean that's billions more euros that I need. But yeah, no. As I say, really looking forward to seeing those FBO flights up on the website.
Yeah, I think won't be long, and they'll be up and going. I think I'll have the New Zealand tour finished by the end of the week, and then I'll get on to the Greenland. So
I'm definitely going to have a go at some of these, especially since I'm on leave until the 8th. So I'll definitely have to have a cheeky crack, especially taking Svetlana across Russia.
Yeah. Will you have awards for each tour, or how have you figured that?
Yeah, we can certainly do an award for completion of a tour.
Mm-hmm.
Completion of every flight is a little bit more tricky, but a tour is doable.
Okay.
For each tour.
Yeah.
So
17
but I
legs,
think
yeah.
But I think for in terms of like the XP, because we have an XP system. Every flight will give a certain number of XP, and then you'll sort of get like a bonus XP, like a completion bonus. We're still working out what to do with the XP and everything, but all in good time.
It's a bit like Bitcoin. There's not much to actually do with it apart from store it.
Look at it. Yeah, look at it.
Yeah.
Bless. But all right, chaps. Well, unless anyone has anything else to say, speak now or forever hold your peace. Which I'll probably end up be saying in a week.
Oh, I mean, in a week's time you'll be a married man. So by tomorrow.
In 24 hours time, I'll be a married man officially. But yeah,
never be the same.
Never be the same. Never be the same. Oh well,
speak now or forever.
Can't live without them.
Forever hold your peace.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else at all that you would like to add, Gary?
Not that I can think of. I'm just grateful that you've accepted this idea, and if I have any more questions, that'll come up along the way, I guess.
It's absolutely nothing to be grateful for. As I say, it's our absolute pleasure. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Gary.
Cheers.
Yeah, we'll get a collective thank you, Gary, from everyone that watches this video. If you've made it this far, type "thank you, Gary" in the chat.
Yeah, send 50p for nudes.
Right. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the second MAG show of 2024. We will see you next month. Dave, thank you very much for joining me. Gaza, you're an absolute legend. And we will see you all next month.
Ta-da.
Thank you.
Peace out. See ya.
Bye-bye.